Every year on May 9th, Russia puts on a show. Tanks, missiles, fighter jets, the full spectacle of military power rolling through Red Square, designed to send one message to the world: remember this, don't underestimate us. This year, the tanks didn't come, the missiles didn't come, just soldiers, marching past empty tarmac where Russia's most fearsome weapons used to stand. And on that same day, Vladimir Putin said something nobody expected. He suggested the war in Ukraine, his war, might be coming to an end. Was that a peace signal? A political calculation? Or the first visible crack in a leader who has spent 4 years telling his people this war was unwinnable for the West? Tonight on the Daily Latitude, we go deep into what is really happening inside Russia. And we ask the question that changes everything. Is Putin finally blinking? Welcome back to the Daily Latitude. Tonight is a pure analytical episode. We are not just telling you what Putin said. We are going to tell you why he said it, what the signals beneath the surface actually mean, and what the 3 most likely outcomes of this war look like from here. Because here is the truth. What happens in Ukraine over the next 6 to 12 months will reshape European security, redefine America's role in the world, and set the terms for how China calculates its next move on Taiwan. This is not just a European story. This is a global one. Let's get into the analysis. Let's start with May 9th, because the symbolism here is impossible to overstate. Victory Day is the single most sacred date in the Russian political calendar. It commemorates the Soviet Union's defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II. For Putin, who has built his entire political identity around Russian military greatness, this day is not just a holiday. It is a statement of power. So when the tanks stayed home this year, that was not a logistical decision. That was a message. And the message was not directed at the West. It was directed at the Russian people. Here is the analytical reading. Russia is running critically short of the modern military hardware it would normally display. Deploying tanks and advanced weapon systems in a parade means pulling them off active production or frontline inventory at a moment when both are under severe strain. The Kremlin made a calculation. Better to have an austere parade than to display equipment Russia can no longer afford to spare. And then on that same day, at that same event, Putin said the war was, in his words, coming to an end. Now here is the analytical principle you need to understand. Putin is not a man who speaks casually. Every public statement is calculated. Every word is chosen. So when he departs, even briefly, from his maximalist position that the war must continue until Russia's objectives are fully met, that departure means something. So what is actually breaking inside Russia right now? Let's be analytically precise. Pressure point 1, the morale collapse. Opinion polls inside Russia, in a country where honest polling is genuinely dangerous, are showing widespread sentiment that the war needs to end. Not a fringe view, a majority view. Here is why that matters analytically. In an authoritarian state, public dissent only surfaces visibly when a critical mass of people begin to feel they are not alone in their dissatisfaction. That threshold appears to have been crossed. The Moscow elite, the business class, the connected families are reportedly frustrated enough that Putin felt compelled to acknowledge it. The whisper emerging from within the Kremlin elite is striking. Some insiders apparently believe Putin may not politically survive the war at all, regardless of the outcome. Pressure point 2, the economic strain. Russia's economy is genuinely feeling the weight of this war now. 3 years of sanctions and unsustainable military spending. The Kremlin's traditional response is losing effectiveness against an economic reality that ordinary Russians experience every day at the grocery store and the petrol pump. Deserted shopping malls, inflation running hot, a currency under pressure. These are not abstract statistics. They are the lived experience of the Russian middle class. Pressure point 3, the manpower crisis. This is perhaps the most operationally significant pressure point of all. Russia is running out of the soldiers it has been feeding into what analysts describe as meat grinder assaults, poorly planned frontal attacks at catastrophic human cost. The supply of impoverished volunteers and conscripted convicts has limits. And Russia is now struggling to recruit from the middle classes, students, and young professionals. When a military runs short of willing soldiers, its strategic options narrow dramatically, and its commanders know it. Now let's look at the other side. Because the Ukrainian story is equally remarkable and equally underreported. Ukraine faces its own manpower crisis, possibly more severe than Russia's. 4 years of war has ground down its military at every level, and yet Ukraine is not losing. The reason is one word: robots. Ukraine has developed one of the most sophisticated drone warfare programs in modern military history, not just for attack, but for resupply, evacuation, reconnaissance, and interception. Drones don't bleed, they don't get tired, they don't suffer from low morale. When wealthy Gulf states came rushing to Zelensky for help defending their skies against Iranian drones, it confirmed something profound. Ukraine has become a global leader. That is a strategic asset of enormous value. And it gives Kyiv leverage it did not have 12 months ago. Trump's assessment no longer holds. Now let's talk about the most analytically interesting detail in Putin's statement, the Schröder gambit. Putin suggested that Gerhard Schröder should serve as the negotiating point man. Schröder is a deeply controversial figure, former chairman of Russia's Nord Stream project. Europe's reaction was cool, but Washington is a different audience. Trump's White House may view a Schröder back channel differently. It's a probe, a test. Let's project forward. Outcome 1, negotiated settlement. Probability, moderate, and rising. The conditions are more present today than ever before, likely involving frozen lines, security guarantees for Ukraine, and phased sanctions relief. The obstacles remain significant, requiring careful diplomatic language. Outcome 2, frozen conflict, probability high. A de facto freezing of front lines without formal agreement, the path of least political resistance for both leaders. Outcome 3, Russian escalation, probability lower but non-negligible. Warning signs to watch: troop movements, maximalist rhetoric, and reduction in diplomatic signals. Here is tonight's analytical bottom line. Putin's Victory Day comments were not a peace offer. They were a signal, carefully calibrated for a domestic audience. The absence of military hardware was a visible symptom of a war that has cost Russia far more than the Kremlin ever projected. Russia is not collapsing, but it is cracking. Subscribe, hit like, and tell me in the comments. Do you think Putin is blinking? I'm your host. This is the Daily Latitude. See you next time.